Kaine joins us right now, sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Very, very important person there, former vice presidential candidate. Senator, good to see you. This measure apparently is it from the administration for now. Nancy Pelosi was just asked by Hillary Vaughn about talk that maybe there'd be a federal gas tax holiday. She said that's off the table for the time being, if I've got the gist of what she said correct. What do you think of that? Tap the reserve, urge oil companies to work on existing leases. There's some controversy with that, but no gas tax holiday. Are you okay with that?
So here's what I think, Neil, and I'm glad to be on. I'm glad we're tapping the reserve. Here's the challenge with the gas tax holiday is that it doesn't necessarily bring down prices at the pump, and that really needs to be the test. When I was governor of Virginia, our gas tax was dramatically lower in the state than the North Carolina gas tax. But if you drove back and forth across the state line and looked at the price at the pump, it was the same. It wasn't different because Virginia had a lower gas tax. The retailers charge what the market will bear. So if you drop the federal gas tax, but it doesn't lead to savings at the pump, then why do it? I think a better strategy might be the big 5 oil companies in the United States are incredibly profitable right now. You might be able to do some kind of an excess profits tax and then rebate money back to consumers. That could actually help them with the cost of gasoline in the short term. I'd be more open to that than a gas tax holiday that might not lead gas to come down by a penny.
Are you afraid, though, that the signal it sends to the public is that all of this is born and because of the oil companies? So tax their profits, which seem obscene, the way the president seems to be looking at it. I'm hardly an apologist for that industry, Senator, but there are other factors going on here, are there not?
Clearly there are other factors, absolutely, and that's why the strategic reserve is really important. I think the oil companies are profitable. That's great. I want them to be profitable, but when their profits spike up at the very time when people are hurting the most, that's what is troubling about it. And you may be able to look at some kind of a temporary excess profits tax so that their profits don't spike at the same time that people are suffering.
I don't know, maybe I'm showing my age, Senator. When I hear a temporary tax, my history suggests it's not temporary, yeah. But we can get into that. But I do want to touch on something that you've led in a bipartisan way. And I didn't even know it was possible, sir, that a president of either party could walk away from NATO at his or her discretion. And you're trying to make sure not before Congress can weigh in. Tell us where Neil, that stands right now.
Yeah, it's a very exciting thing, and it goes after sort of an ambiguity in the Constitution. The Constitution says the U.S. cannot enter a treaty without a 2/3 vote of the Senate, clear as day. The Constitution doesn't say anything about exiting a treaty. So this has actually been kind of a live debate that's gone on for years that's never been resolved to anyone's satisfaction. The U.S. Supreme Court took a case in 1979 dealing with President Carter unilaterally backing out of a treaty over Taiwan's defense. Some members of Congress sued and said, hey, you can't do that. And the Supreme Court said they dismissed the case. They said it's a political question that has to be worked out between the executive and Congress. To me, that says Congress has a role. So Senator McCain and I first introduced this bill in July of 2018. It was the last bill I believe he introduced before he died to say that no president can back out of NATO without a vote of Congress. The timing wasn't right, but the timing is right now because we're seeing the value of NATO. We had a vote in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on it yesterday, 21-1 in support of the proposal that now Senator Rubio and I are leading. It has huge bipartisan support, and we're hoping to get a floor vote on it soon. It would send a great message to our NATO allies right now that NATO membership of the U.S. doesn't depend upon the president. There is a bicameral and bipartisan desire to stand strong with our NATO allies.
Was this triggered by then President Trump when he was talking about NATO paying their respective fair shares and questioning the need for Article 5 and then whether you would respond to an attack on one? Was it born of that?
Yes, it was. Now, pushing NATO nations to up their defense, we like that about President Trump.
Right,
that
right.
was a good thing. But saying that we might get out, or why would we want to do something, against, to defend a small NATO nation, that actually made us go ask the question that you just asked. Wow, I didn't think a president could get out of a treaty. Well, we went back and looked, and we realized this was an issue where the Constitution is silent. As a general matter, the Supreme Court says when the Constitution is silent, it's something that Congress can legislate in that silence. And clearly, the Senate has always had a role in the approval of treaties, so we feel like we're completely on fine legal ground. But on this treaty in particular, and at this particular moment, sending this bipartisan message of how strongly we are behind NATO, I think seems like a good thing to do.
Yeah, well, it woke me up. I didn't even know the president could have that prerogative. But I did want to touch on something. You battled COVID, and it was pretty scary. Full disclosure, I've had the same issues that you did,
Yeah,
Senator. In fact, it was very scary
Yes.
for me. And you're dealing with long COVID, as am I. I hopefully not to the degree that either of us were, but it lingers. And you want to explore that because a lot of people are coming out of this in varying degrees of health. But there's a lot we don't know. Explain what you're trying to
Absolutely,
explore
Neil.
and what you're personally going through.
Yeah, and look, your COVID story really grabbed my attention, and I know many's because it was so serious. My COVID story is not serious, but it's weird. I had a very mild case of COVID at the beginning in March of 2020. We were working on the CARES Act here, and I got COVID. I had non-standard symptoms, but then I gave COVID to my wife, and then she had all the standard symptoms. So like, okay, we know what's going on. We got antibody tests that showed we'd had COVID. One symptom I got at the beginning was just like this. Every nerve ending in my body just started to tingle or buzz 24/7. I describe it as like every nerve ending's had 5 cups of coffee. I can work, I can exercise, I can sleep, but I know how my body felt for 62 and a half years, and then there came a day where it felt different, and I've never gone back. I've been dealing with this. Again, I'm not suffering under it, I'm just dealing with it. But I started to hear people who are having much more serious long COVID symptoms talk about their experiences, including the experience of not being believed. Oh, maybe it's anxiety or, and when people started to report this experience of not being believed, I thought, I want to know more about this phenomenon. What's causing it? What are the cures and treatments? I started to talk about my own experience so that people out there who were going through some post-COVID syndrome would realize, hey, there's policymakers who believe you and who are living through it too. And we got a sizable amount of research money in the American Rescue Plan a year ago to start to dig into causes and cures. And Neil, this is an interesting one. We may know cures before we know causes, because some of the symptoms are similar to other kinds of symptoms not related to COVID. So we can use medications for, neuropathy, nerve tingling, and see, okay, does that work on somebody with long COVID symptoms? So, but we need to do research. We need to educate providers and people. We need to provide support for those who are dealing with it. This could affect anywhere between 5% and 30% of people who've had COVID. Even that is such a wide swath. Obviously, we have to dig in and understand what it is. But the symptoms are completely variable. Mine is nerve tingling. Some people lose taste and smell permanently. It could be racing heart. It could be I was a marathon runner. I can't walk around the block. I mean, the symptoms are very, very broad, and there are a lot of questions, and we've got to get answers.
Interesting. I was a marathon runner as well, Senator. No, I really wasn't. But you didn't milk all the attention like I did, Senator. I mean, you just, you were dealing with this, and there was no milking it. But no, you raise a lot of very good points. I got to hand that to you. Go ahead, finish up.
Well, Neil, the last thing I'll say is on this is being willing to just share my own experience. Again, I'm just dealing with a weird thing. It means that an awful lot of people come up and talk to me, on the street, around the Capitol, here and there, and say, hey, thanks for doing this bill. Somebody yesterday was talking to me about their wife who was dealing with long COVID symptoms, and he said, thanks for doing this bill and bringing some attention to it. And the good news is, if people who are dealing with these symptoms, if we can share the symptoms and, kind of get good research on them, we will not only help long COVID sufferers, but it's been fairly common for other viral illnesses to have after effects, Lyme disease and things like that. The research in long COVID is likely to give us some answers that will help others too.
Yeah, and to your point, 5 to 10%, that's still millions of people who could be affected like this.
Millions and millions.
Going on.
Yep.
Senator, very good seeing you. Thank you very, very much.
Neil,
I'd like
glad
to
to
see
be
how
with
this
you.
progresses.